Hi, I'm Heidi from Happiness is Homemade, and today I'm going to show you how to quickly and easily create tumblers, mugs, and other drinkware using UV DTF transfers. DTF printing, which stands for direct to film, has taken the crafting world by storm lately, and for good reason. DTF transfers are incredibly easy to use, the results look professionally finished, and they can also be really cost effective, especially once you factor in the amount of time that they're going to save you. With DTF printing, you can achieve a level of detail in your projects similar to what can be done with sublimation, but DTF prints utilize opaque inks, including white ink, so they're perfect for pressing onto dark or brightly colored cotton garments, things that don't work well with traditional sublimation. Using a DTF transfer is similar to using printable iron-on, but the results are higher quality, more durable, and there's no weeding or cutting involved. Now, while DTF transfers are typically used for shirts and other soft materials, UV printed DTF transfers, which are referred to as UV DTF, those are what's used for making tumblers and other solid surfaces like I'm going to be demonstrating for you today. A UV DTF transfer is essentially a UV printed sticker. It's backed with permanent adhesive, and they kind of remind me a little bit of the old rub-on transfers that were super popular back in the day, which means they're really simple to use and they're great for beginners. And another reason that DTF is so beginner friendly is that when it comes to printing DTF and UV DTF transfers, most crafters are not printing their own transfers at home. There are lots of companies out there that can quickly and easily do the printing for you at a reasonable price, which means that unlike sublimation, you don't need to worry about buying any new equipment. You're not going to have to play around with color profiles, test all the different settings, so it is a lot less complicated. At-home DTF printers are available for those of you who are interested in printing your own, but I will warn you that they're pricey and they can also be messy and complicated, so the majority of crafters tend to use DTF printing services. You can choose to purchase pre-printed DTF designs, retailers like Amazon and Etsy, or you can create and design your own, and you can order custom DTF or UV DTF prints that are unique to you and your business. In the PDF file that you downloaded for this workshop, I included a list of some of my favorite DTF printers and retailers, but today I'm specifically going to show you how to design and order custom UV DTF transfers from Ninja Transfers. I chose Ninja Transfers for the demo because their software is really easy to work with, especially for beginners. Their ordering process is simple, and their color vibrancy and quality of their prints is fantastic. Now, when ordering a large custom UV DTF or regular DTF transfer sheet, that's usually done by ordering what is called a gang sheet, and that's a large sheet that has multiple designs printed onto it. They typically come in a width that's somewhere around 22 inches wide, and then you can specify the length. Different lengths come from different increments in different companies, so it's usually somewhere around 10, 12, 24, 36 inches, etc. So today I'm going to show you how to use PNG files. Those are images with transparent backgrounds, and we're going to go ahead and design and piece together your gang sheet using the free Canva software, and then I'm going to show you how to use and apply those UV DTF transfers that you just created. All right, you ready to get to it? If you don't have a Canva account, head on over to canva.com now and set that up before proceeding. So the very first thing that you want to do is to open up the PDF file that you downloaded for these templates. In this document, you'll see it has links to the Canva templates we'll be using today, as well as links to the Tumbler designs and a link to Ninja Transfers. To begin, click on the Canva link, and when that opens up, click on the button to use template for new design. And what that's going to do is it's going to open up a copy of this template here inside of your own Canva account. So now you can customize this however you want. On this first page here, I'm including some templates for some of the most common sizes of cups, mugs, and tumblers that are used with UV DTF transfers. I have a template for a 20-ounce straight-sided tumbler. That's going to be like your tall, straight metal tumblers, similar to what you'd use for sublimation. I've got a 16-ounce glass can cup. These are the Libby-style glasses that are shaped like soda cans. I also have one here for the 20-ounce size as well. I've got a 15-ounce ceramic mug as well as an 11-ounce mug. And then I have a 24-ounce tapered tumbler. That's like your Starbucks cold cup size. I've also included two keychain templates. I've got a motel style and a circle keychain. Keychains are a really great way to fill up the extra space in your gang sheet. Now, I designed these templates according to the sizes of my specific tumblers, and tumbler sizes do vary between brand to brand. So always make sure to measure your own cups and tumblers and compare them to the size of these templates before proceeding with the project. So page 2 here is just a quick mock-up of some of our tumbler designs in our shop. If you go back to that PDF file that had all the information, you'll find a link in there where you can purchase these files. Now, this might seem like kind of a random assortment of designs here, but I chose these ones because I really want to show off the variety of ways that UV DTF is so cool. Now, if you zoom in on these files, you can see there's a ton of fine detail here. You've got watercolor texture and just all kinds of little tiny details and shading on these. So, and that's something that you'd normally only be able to create with sublimation, because this level of detail here is just, it's way too intricate to work with vinyl. Now, you could maybe use a printable vinyl on that, but it's not going to be very durable. The same goes for this leopard print pattern here. It's got a really fun color shift to the pattern that sort of makes it look almost iridescent. And that's a really hard look to replicate aside from using sublimation, or if you actually had maybe like an iridescent specialty vinyl. And the same also goes for these pretty watercolor flowers. The color gradient and the watercolor texture in this design here, those are things that are going to be unique to sublimation or UV DTF transfers. Now, this cute cactus mug here has a lot of different colors, and it also has some extra layers and shading in addition to those smaller details. And again, this is just way too much to work with traditional vinyl. So the cool thing about UV DTF printing is that all of this detail is printed onto one single layer. So your finish is going to be completely smooth. And because that print has been UV cured, it creates a super durable finish once it's been transferred to your surface. Now, once you've selected the design files that you want to use, we're going to upload them into Canva by going to the Uploads tab on the left side and then importing the PNG files. My designs have actually already been uploaded here, so I'm going to move on to the next step, which is designing our gang sheet. So I already designed a few gang sheet layouts for you, just to show you a few ways that you can maximize the space. This one here is for 16-ounce glass tumblers. And there's a row of assorted keychains at the bottom here. Like I said, that's a really great way to fill up that additional space. And I've also created layouts for 20-ounce glass can cups, as well as 24-ounce tapered tumblers, and one here that has a whole assortment of different sizes. So if you do choose to use this one, make sure that you remove these size labels once you're finished. Those are just put in there to make it easier for you to see which size is which as you're uploading your designs. Of course, you can always build your own gang sheet layout as well. So to build your own layout, I recommend going back to page 1 with all of the different size templates and then making a duplicate copy of that page. It might be a little hard to see here, but each page of this template has a little thin dotted black line at the very top. And this line is going to help us with our sizing once we import our design into Ninja Transfers. So it's really important that you just duplicate the pages here instead of just inserting a new blank page. Now go ahead and leave that black line up at the top there, but any of these other elements here that you're not going to use, you can go ahead and delete. So now you can delete any of the frames that you aren't going to use. You can copy paste the ones that you want to duplicate, rearrange everything all around, etc., until you come up with your own ideal arrangement. So note that you are going to want to leave about a 1/2-inch border all around of the outer edges though, and that's going to allow for the trimming that the print company is going to have to do. So for my gang sheet today, I'm actually not going to create my own layout. So I'm going to go back down to the last page and take that assorted tumblers and mugs arrangement. And I want to keep this sheet here as is so that I can use this as a template again in the future. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here and I'm going to duplicate that page. And you can see I've actually noted here on all of these, make a copy. That way you don't forget and this original will remain intact. So I duplicated that page and then I'm going to go ahead and rename the new page. And now I'm going to start building my gang sheet using my uploaded images. The cool thing about this template is that it utilizes Canva frames. That's what those little hills and clouds graphics represent. And what that means is that all I have to do is drag and drop my uploaded images over the frame, and it's going to fill up that space with the design. So there's no need to resize anything. Now, all of my template designs were created for a specific size cup or tumbler. Like this honeycomb pattern here is originally designed to fit a 15-ounce mug. But many of these rectangular designs can actually be used for multiple sizes. The pattern's just going to shift a little bit depending on the layout. So feel free to get creative and play around with these. And again, once you have your patterns in place, you can remove these text labels as well. Now, if you'd rather build your Tumbler design from scratch instead of using one of my template designs, you can totally do that here in Canva as well. Canva has lots of elements that you can use to build your own design, so it's really easy. But since these frames tend to sort of want to grab any of the elements if you move them onto them or over them, I like to use the elements function, and then I create a rectangle that's the same size as the frame, and then go ahead and just delete that frame. That way it's easier to layer the pieces of your design on top of that shape instead of on top of the frame. For just a quick example, I'm going to add a few flowers to the top of this Tumbler template here. And you can see there's lots and lots of options in Canva here. So I'm just going to lay that out. And then I'm going to remove that colored rectangle because I don't want that to print on my gang sheet. I just want the flower design. So when you think your gang sheet is done, be sure to zoom in and take a close look all around the edges to make sure that nothing is being cut off, nothing looks weird. Then, to save the file, you're going to go up to Share and then Download. Make sure that PNG is selected from the file type dropdown, and then slide that slider all the way over to the right to make it 6600 by 7200 pixels. That's going to allow us to download that image at a high enough resolution that it can print that large when we send it over to Ninja Transfers. Check to make sure that you have a transparent background checked. Select the page that you want to save, then click Done and Download. Now this is a really large file, so it may take a few minutes to save to your computer. Once we have our file saved, we're going to want to go back to this class information PDF and click on Ninja Transfers. That's going to take us to the Ninja Transfers website, and what we want is we want these UV DTF 3D perma stickers. And you're going to want to come down here to the UV DTF Gang Sheet Online Builder. We're going to select a 22 by 24 inch sheet and just click on Start New. We've already built this 1/2 inch margin into our Canva design, so we don't need to leave an extra 1/2 inch margin here. Otherwise, what that's going to do is it's going to resize the image that we upload, and we don't want that. So next we come in and upload our image. And I'm just going to click on that, and it's going to automatically place it onto that canvas for me. You want to check and make sure that it should be 21.55 inches wide. Now that is the width of that black dotted line at the top of our Canva template. And that's why we're going to move it in here and keep it at that same aspect ratio and same size. We've already sized everything in Canva to perfectly fit around our tumblers, so we don't want that to change when we import it into Ninja Transfers. So now this is at the corner and we have a little bit of extra space here. So I am going to go ahead and move this into the center. And you'll see that it's surrounded by a green box here. And that's letting us know that we have a high enough resolution to go ahead and order this, and it will come out with good quality printing. So go ahead, and when everything looks great, you want to click to save and add to cart. It'll show you have no overlapping images, no low resolution, and no items that are overlapping the artboard. So go ahead and check that and then add it to your cart. And once you've got that added to your cart, you can go ahead and complete the checkout process. Now, when your gang sheet arrives a few days later, all of your designs are going to be on this one large single sheet. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is cut everything down to size to fit your projects. I try to keep my cuts fairly close to the edges of the design so that they'll fit around my tumbler without too much overlap or too much overhang if I'm using it for a keychain transfer. The UV DTF transfer is made up of 3 layers. You've got the backing layer, the UV DTF print, and a clear top sheet that acts as a transfer tape. If you've ever worked with adhesive vinyl, it's very similar to transfer tape and adhesive vinyl. Before applying the UV DTF transfer, you want to make sure that your cup is completely clean and free from any oils, dust, or debris. Lots of people will tell you to clean your cup with isopropyl alcohol, but just as many people will also warn you that using alcohol with UV DTF can lead to cracking, and it can also break down the adhesive. So I personally like to err on the side of caution, and I just use a lint-free cloth to clean my glasses. If you do opt to use alcohol, it's best to use at least 91% alcohol for best results. And then once the cup is clean, it's time to apply the transfer. I like to start by using my scraper tool to gently go over the front and the back of the transfer, just to make sure that everything's stuck down and works the way it's supposed to. Then I wrap the transfer around the cup to get an idea of the positioning and just sort of see how everything lays out. Now, once you're happy with the size and the positioning, at this point, if you feel really confident in your ability to keep things lined up properly, you can go ahead and just peel that backing off of the transfer and place it onto your cup. But me, I am not that confident in my own abilities. So I have a few other tricks that I like to use to ensure that everything stays perfectly lined up and in place. Once I have my design laid out where I want it, I like to use a couple of pieces of washi tape to hold down the center of the design and keep everything in place. Then I peel back about an inch or so of the backing and I cut away that backing paper. Now, using that washi tape in the center as a hinge, I carefully lay down the exposed section of the transfer and use my fingers to smooth everything out, making sure that everything is pressed down really well and that I don't have any air bubbles trapped underneath. The adhesive on these transfers is ultra permanent, so once you lay it down, there's no going back. Now I can remove those pieces of washi tape and set them aside so we can use them for your next tumbler, and slowly start to peel back and reveal more of that backing as I continue to apply and smooth down the transfer. Once I have a couple of inches of my transfer adhered to the glass, I like to use the felt end of a scraper tool to help burnish everything and make sure it's stuck down really well and transferring smoothly. Now, because we still have the backing on the rest of the design here, it's okay to take your time with this and take this part slowly just to make sure that everything is transferring properly. Okay, I think this looks pretty good. So the last step is going to be to remove that top carrier sheet. Peel back the corner and gently and slowly start peeling off the plastic. If any of your design starts to lift up along with the plastic, place it back down and run the scraper over it again and then slowly try it again. This is really similar to removing the transfer tape from adhesive vinyl, but this plastic transfer tape is much thicker and stickier than most vinyl transfer tapes is. So it's definitely a little bit more tedious to remove it, but it's still super easy. Just go slowly and carefully with it. You can see that the UV DTF design has some dimension and glossiness to it, and that's due to the fact that it's been UV cured as part of the printing process, and that means that this finish is incredibly durable. This design here is scratch-proof, fade-resistant, and water-resistant, so it can withstand plenty of daily wear and tear. Now, some brands of UV DTF claim that they're dishwasher safe, so you can test that out if you're willing, but I found that most of the UV DTF transfers don't stand up very well to super high heat, especially if you're used to using the sanitizing cycle in your machine. So I always recommend hand washing these for best results. Another trick that I like to use with these UV DTF transfers is to swap out the backing paper for wax paper or parchment paper. Both of those papers are thinner and easier to handle than the thicker backing paper that most UV DTF prints have, so it helps to make the transfer process just go a little bit more smoothly. So to make this work, I start by removing the backing from the entire transfer sheet, and then I place the transfer face down on the table. Then I place my sheet of parchment paper on top of it and use my felt scraper to burnish things a little bit. And then I trim the edges of the parchment to size. This time, when it's time to transfer the design to my mug, I'm going to use the exact same technique as before, but instead of cutting off that section of backing paper, I'm actually going to fold back a small section of the parchment paper. Now, when it's time to peel the backing parchment paper off, I can grab a hold of that folded tab and gently pull it back as I apply the transfer. Easy peasy. Once you get the hang of the technique, you can start making all kinds of drinkware and all kinds of other things using UV DTF transfers. Keychains are another super easy project that you can make with UV DTF. They make a great last-minute gift idea, or if you're trying to bulk up your product inventory for your next craft fair booth, these are always a huge hit. So as you can see, UV DTF transfers are a ton of fun to use, and the creative possibilities are endless, especially now that you know how to design and order your own custom gang sheets. I really can't wait to see all the awesome things that you've been making. And don't forget, tag me at Heidi Cundin to show off all of your UV DTF projects.